Segole, so quick. I'm Dan Cornelius, and we're a little bit of just a minor adjustment with our schedule. Our drum isn't here yet, and morning after spring break, I know everyone's just kind of getting back into the flow of things. So hopefully, if they arrive a little bit later, we'll have a couple of songs. But I wanted to welcome everybody to the Indigenous Research Forum and just give a little bit of context as we get started here. We are going to be joined by Ho-Chunk President John Greendeer shortly. And, so I'm going to save the non-land acknowledgement for John, but give a little bit of just an acknowledgement and why are we here? And, to me, that's the question that I ask myself a lot of, why is this university here? I teach a couple of classes on campus. I teach a listening to the land class in the fall semester. It's a first year interest group. So, we've got 15 students in educational policy that participate in that class every year. And we're able to get out on Lake Mendota and pontoon boat, and we're able to really, get out on the land. I teach a spring class as well with Erwin Goldman, food sovereignty class. And, that question of why are we here? Why is this institution here? That's one of those foundational questions within those classes that we really get those students to be thinking about. And my message to them is the opportunity that they have of coming here to, and what are we we're a top 10 research institution. And, the resources that we have here are incredible. And the opportunity that the students have, this is their time to really to learn and to think about what do they want to do with their careers? What do they want to do with their lives? And my main message to them is take the classes, do what you want to do, follow your passions, follow your interests. But that deeper question for the university, why are we here? Founded in the same year that the state was founded. There's a lot of talk of over the years of the Wisconsin idea, and the basic notion of the Wisconsin idea is that the impact of the university extends to every corner of the state, and vice versa, that every corner of the state is impacting and influencing the university. How has that applied to Native communities over the years? That's a little bit of what we're going to be talking about over the course of today. And I think that, I don't want to start off in too negative of a light, but there's been some challenges of the relationship with the university and with tribes over the years. But at the same time, we've got some big grants that are starting up, and I can really genuinely say that the impact of this university today with some of our Indigenous food system work, where a lot of my focus is, and legal development as well, that without the support of the university, I think that some of these efforts, I wouldn't say that they wouldn't be happening, but I feel that the university is providing some critical support. But we struggle with some of these issues of what is Indigenous research and how do we really position the relationship in a way that is ultimately benefiting our tribal communities. And to me, that is really the embodiment of the Wisconsin idea, that this university should be helping, our communities. And that's not just Native, that's all of the communities within the state. And so we've got a great opportunity here over the course of today that we've got some fantastic speakers. And, I just want to give a thank you to all of our speakers that have traveled here, taken the time to submit proposals to be able to speak, and then for all of the attendees. And I know we've got quite a few people that'll be cycling in through the rest of the day, but I want to now turn it over to Dean Gillaspy, who is a dean of the College of Ag and Life Sciences, and one of the is our key sponsor on the event.
So thank you. I have these really nice comments that are a standard welcome, and they start with, "It's my honor to welcome you here today. Today on land once cared for, fished, and gathered by the Ho-Chunk people, with many opportunities to learn from the past and make a better future. And now I'll go off script and say, I'm new to Wisconsin, but I also have enjoyed getting out on a pontoon boat and seeing the beautiful land around this campus. We're doing great things. We're number 8. The college is number 5. And so it is really an honor to work at this great university. And I know we have a lot more work to do. Thank you for coming today to help us do some of that work. I'll say something about the land grant mission. So it's clear that the land grant was one of the major mistakes made in our society. But yet at the same time, land grants give rise to greatness now. And it is time now to incorporate all communities into this. So I'll go back on script. I'm energized by the opportunities to learn from experts today about Indigenous research methods, approaches, findings, the wisdom in the today around food, something we're passionate about in the College of Ag and Life Sciences. Food production, food preservation, and food preparation is humbling, and I'm pleased to see you here all to take advantage of this. And I also want to mention that this is part of a larger project called the Rural Partnerships Institute, which is a federally funded project that involves 3 universities, here UW-Madison, University of Wisconsin, University of Vermont, and Auburn University in the state of Alabama. So we all 3 have benefited from these federal funds to help us do a lot of work around increasing rural, also underserved and tribal communities. So thanks for coming on this journey with us. Because I'm kind of competitive, I actually am excited to learn from you all and to take away what happens today back to my meeting with the other 2 institutions to tell them about all the great work that we do here. So I'll just close by saying thank you for taking your time to share your talents and experiences with this group. And I look forward to the wonderful things we can do together. Thank you.
I think I'm next. If not, I'm up here, so I'm going. Good morning. Thank you to CALS, the UW Law School, the Nelson Institute, and the UW Extension for hosting this event today. I am Carla Vigue. I am Oneida, and I am the Director of Tribal Relations here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So what does that mean? It means that I am here to represent the Chancellor and the university in our relationship with tribes, tribal communities, tribal organizations, Native students, Native nonprofits, and anyone who kind of encompasses our community and help make those connections between the university and all of those people that I've just mentioned. So broadly speaking, that's what I do, and that's why I'm here today. I'd like to talk about 2 things in my world that I think would contribute to today's discourse. Yes, it is Monday after spring break, as Dan mentioned. First, in February, Chancellor Mnookin shared her goals and new efforts that the university will undertake in a few key areas. And I'm just going to really quickly whip through these. It's early and I know you don't need to hear the full details, but one is the Wisconsin Rise Initiative, which is to address the grand challenges facing the state and the world. And this initiative aims to recruit top scholars from various disciplines, attract new research funding to drive discoveries, and create new educational opportunities for students at all levels. The second part of what she announced was in entrepreneurship, and the university is doubling down on becoming a hub of innovation, making entrepreneurship and commercialization more accessible to the university community. And that includes everyone here and all of the people that I've just mentioned. And then third, what she announced was a comprehensive sustainability initiative. This includes the establishment of the Sustainability Research Hub, which I think the Nelson Institute is lead on, and encompasses research, education, and campus practices. And we are going to cultivate a culture of sustainability, build climate resilience, and inspire innovations. I talk about this because when a chancellor makes an announcement such as this, it's my job to think about this in a more broad way, in ways that we can ensure that our tribes, our tribal organizations, and all of those people that I've mentioned are included when we venture forth into these kind of endeavors. and that our priorities and our successes are included in this initiative as well. And this brings me to my second item. Last summer, I had the opportunity to join university leadership and others in the community at a meeting with NSF, Dr. Irwin Gianchandani. He's the AD of the Directorate for Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships. And I bring this up because the entire focus of the meeting was to talk about ways to bring science, research, and innovation to more places, particularly rural areas. And the NSF has renewed its focus in the way they want to give grants and support projects at universities. And they want us really, as a university, to show that we are making connections with our communities, and that they want us to show that together we are working with communities such as the tribes and our tribal organizations to develop what a community impact looks like, and together decide how we would move forward towards reaching our goals together. So I think those are two really important things, broadly speaking, that as a university administration that we're committed to is making sure that, first of all, as the Director of Tribal Relations, there's a Native in the room when we have these conversations. Because, you know, as I told the NSF, I said, Natives were the first keepers of this earth. We were the first researchers. We were the first scientists. We were the first explorers. And when you talk about community impact, you're not having a conversation unless you include us. So I think that these are really important places for us to start with and be included in these conversations as a university. I want to just kind of close by saying, why do I share these two items? I've been in my role just over a year, probably a year and 2 or 3 months now. I spend a lot of time going to events like this, learning from all of the faculty and staff and students on campus, but then also going out into the communities and learning what the projects are that we're working on, the research we're doing in those communities. And I can't represent the university without all of you and all of the work that you do. And when you share those things with me, I'm certain to keep them and hold them and make sure that when there is an opportunity to share and make connections and bring people together, that's what my goal is to do. So I want to thank you all for what you do and for teaching me and bringing me and including me in all of your work too. So with that, I would like to introduce our next speaker. UW-Madison is grateful for the special relationship we have with the Ho-Chunk Nation and our state's other Native nations. I've known our next speaker, President John Greendeer, for many years. And one thing I truly admire about him is his commitment to a healthy community. And health encompasses many things, mind, body, and spirit. He walks the walk, hunting, making maple syrup, distributing healthy traditional foods, drumming, sharing the Ho-Chunk language, basically taking care of his community. So today it gives me great pleasure to welcome my friend, President John Greendeer.
E wo jo kanina hichokoto ni wina hanachi ni karagiwi. Hampte hoji shana hichokoto hada ware hi karashide de wa unje. Jeske hampte hochanga de woshka hiske honi gidagi shne. Maikate hite ege honkshna. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? It's so great to be here. It's great to be invited to this class of folks and to share some conference quality coffee with you and try to pretend like you're going to make it through. I'm really thrilled. This has been something that's been on the, just so you guys know, the Ho-Chunk Nation is closed today. So I'm working on my day off. So are some of my other staff. So, you know, they're dedicated. So I'm really excited about that. So I think the most important thing to do, and I thought I was just going to be doing like this horde ornament, like 30-second hello and get out and go skateboard or something like that. But apparently they carved out some time. So I want to share with you a little bit of where we are before you start getting all the plugs for research and data and all these amazing things that mobilize a good effort, especially if you are looking for funding. And I'll talk a little bit about that. There's some things that I'm very unrestricted about in talking about our founders and then later on and how our programs develop and who funds these things and what they're actually looking for when you guys are doing all the work. So I don't always take that with a comforting, warm handshake because I'm a little jaded by some of our history. So nothing thrills me more than to see Indigenous people and allies who have been there along the way actually leading the charge in developing strong research connections with their communities. So it's spring, right? Finally. And so just to put things in context of time, and I think it's important to share this because this is where we live as Indigenous people, and whether or not we're as connected as we like to be. Take a look around, and I think one of my good buddies, Biscakane, always says, if you ever want to make white people crazy, take the clock off the wall, take their phone away. Everything's on a schedule, everything's on an Outlook calendar, everything's set for them, and it drives them insane. And they never walked out and heard the cranes come by, or you listen to the spring peepers that are coming up. And this means something, for us in this time of year. Traditionally, we're running low on supply. All of our tobacco that we grew, all the corn that we dried, we're taking out the seeds that we have carefully put away of our dominant crop species, and we are getting ready to build our agricultural way of life. Because if we don't do this, we don't get to do this again next year. Everything depends on an action, and it is a programmatic schedule. So not just hoe chunks. Long time ago, we allied many times with the Menominee, our other Aboriginal brothers and sisters, and it was this time of the year that you would hear their songs for the sturgeon as the sturgeon came up spawning. And so the whole diet changes this time of year, tapping maple trees and birch trees and walnut trees, going out and looking for mushrooms and ramps and some of the early spring foraging items. So we would hear these songs back in the days across the land, and you could hear these amazing water drum songs. And we were actually getting our seed beds ready. We were getting our planting ready. We know that we had to move in a lot of times, but this is the time where our youngest people got to be with our oldest people, mainly 2 times a year, in the early spring and in the late fall. And you would hear these songs as they prepared. Yahweh, Yahweh, Hene, Yahweh, Yahweh, Hene, Yahweh, Yahweh, Hene. And these young kids would learn these songs, and there was dialogue in these songs. And as we got more and we celebrated the life that we had, because we didn't always take ourselves as great farmers or great hunters. The things that we gathered and the things that we were able to sustain our human life and existence were not of our making. It was a result of the Creator, what we were gifted with. Everyone knows that goes outside and lives this world. You're not guaranteed rice every year, right? For those of you who have rice, you've gone to areas and it's been lush in one year and completely vanquished the next year. It could have been anything: storms, predation, total petroleum, hydrocarbons, watercrafts. Anything could have changed that schematic. So you have to be able to move and mobilize and adapt to the surroundings around you. And as we went forward, we were able to celebrate those plantings. And when they're all done, Mana jiwane, mana jiwane, mana jiwane, mana jiwane, mana jiwane. And we dance for hours and celebrate the celebration of life and our green corn, woshka, or our way of life. It was at that time, the transition of our traditional winter feast, where our Eagle clan would have hold the last winter feast and then jump right in and be the first one to have their spring winter feast. And that was our call to go out and start netting fish and spearing and all the things that we needed to sustain life in the early spring and foraging. So this entire way of life was built around sustaining through a cold season. And unfortunately, a lot of people who have done their best to capture history have done it from a European perspective. We know what white saviorism, right? White saviorism is a commonly used word whispered in Indian country because we were unable to survive without them. That was sarcastic, by the way. We had no abilities to create our own food sources and protect ourselves from the elements in our homes. All these elements, such as food, water, shelter. It wasn't until we were able to receive copper and tin and things like that. And that is completely untrue. It is the dialogue and the narrative that we live with every single day. And for the generation that we have today that have woken up and realized that it wasn't them that allowed, it was always us. The source of our medicines for our biochemists out there and our doctors and, come from us. The source of our entire frame of government come from us, our Haudenosaunee. Everything that we've done, we never got the credit for that. And it's ridiculous 2 weeks ago, but today it isn't, because you guys are leading the charge in science and research. And you take this extremely cautious approach, and it has to be cautious because we've been wrong before. We've been under glass. We've been in a fish tank. We've been studied. We've been inoculated with different test drugs. We've been sterilized. We've been a statistic. We've been a non-statistic. So coming into this field of cautious research done by us is really important. Now, I'll get all excited about some things. I wear the title of president right now, and I love working for our people. My real passion is health and wellness, language, culture, activity, things that bring me happiness and joy. Public service, yeah, like health and wellness, love. And, one of the things I saw, because I did the complete European approach. I went through, this is really about diet and exercise. Well-being was kind of off this side. It was always never the important stuff, because what people want that give you money, here comes some little traces of white saviorism. They want to see what their money is doing. They want to see your community getting thinner, their A1Cs getting lower, their BMIs moving down the scale. They want to be the hero for people that they are associated with the destruction, the genocide of who we are. And here we are today. Now that we control this, coming forward to our communities to say, hey, you know what? We want to be able to do this, but we have to create some measurements. I am a member of the Nota Vigue Foundation out in New Mexico, where we specialize specifically on Indigenous children and their wellness and reaching a healthy lifestyle. And so we began building soccer fields and creating athletic environments for them. But realizing that, you know what? Running 4 miles in the desert isn't nearly as important as feeding your grandparents when you don't have a lot of food. The things that we want to promote for a healthy lifestyle probably aren't the most important things in a community's mind. So you look at the predeterminants of health in a community, and you can't just assume that you can make someone healthy. It is an absolute struggle to find this. And then you're going to find yourself less about exercise, less about diet, and more about mental health, which is the booming industry right now. For Indigenous people, it's connection to identity. It's finding those ties. And I just got done telling a new friend of mine here that once you connect this lifestyle, this sharing that I began with the individual, and they make that connection, you don't have to market anything. And I'll give you an example. If you go up rice, how many people have gone up to harvest wild rice before? That's more than I thought. I can assure you that you are going to spend the entire day out there with a buddy that probably weighs more than you, and you're going to be pushing them around while they're knocking rice. You're going to see muskrats and beavers and frogs, lily pads. You're going to see everything out there. You're going to feel the warm breeze. You're going to put the pole down. You're going to stand up, and you're just going to do this over the rice because you can finally see over it. You're going to see fish. You're going to see all these things that have these stories. You'll see wolf running around at the edge. You're going to do all this, and you're going to harvest all this rice. You may even spill some and feel bad about it, but actually what you've done is replanted for the next year. That's what we say when we're clumsy, but you're going to bring this back, and you're not done. You just got done doing the easy part. Now you have to lay that out for several days into the sun, let it dry out. We call that hashuk. We get that dry and crumbly, and then what we'll do is winnow it. We can do that mechanically. We can do that about, I would say 90 to 110 pound child on a canvas mat wearing moccasins and with a maple bar to hold on to. That's about what you want to start parching that rice. You get any bigger, you're gonna break all the rice up and things like that. This is TEK, just so y'all know. This is a trade secret. You're welcome. Anyway, and then you come out on a breezy day and you winnow it. And at some point, because in Wisconsin, it's kind of around September that this happens, but you go into the later fall as well. And that part I'm going to bring back where our youngest meet our oldest is when they'd sit there with all the rice hulls that didn't quite make it, and they would break those hulls off, and it would be just an unconscious experience. Now, when you learn doing things like that, you retain what you learn. You associate that with an activity. When you put that much work into a 15-pound harvest and you spend several days on it, whether it's tobacco, whether it's corn, whether it's rice, whether it's beans, whether it's squash, that food, shagwe hide aide shuno, walk and chunk, namp ojo hide. We put that holiness in there with our hands. We made that sacred by doing that. That's what our old ones would say. A dietitian would say, well, it's meaningful food. It's meaningful diets. It's portion control. Because you're not going to be slapping 10 pounds of wild rice on someone's plate. It's going to have a story to it as well. Everything you do has a story. Now, we don't live in the age and time where we can fully transition to personal harvest. We just don't. We're too busy being broke, working 2 jobs, but we do try to remember the little things that we do so that we understand that food is medicine. Food is medicine. We've seen it not be medicine. We've seen it with our health indices. We've seen it, we've seen other things. We've seen tobacco become poison. We've seen water become destructive and fire become destructive. Too much of a good thing, right? Says white father thing. Yeah, that's a good saying. Anyway, European saying, too much of a good thing is not a good thing. So we understand that balance that we have with our natural world. We build our world around those clocks, and we end up finding meaning in what we eat and what we do every day. Even if you're, someone got after me, he's like, well, you make maple sugar, you're gonna give people diabetes. Okay, I'm gonna have you schlep 80 buckets of sap into this. Just so you know, it's about 8 pounds a gallon and 5 gallons. So you're gonna be moving 80 pounds and you're gonna be doing that for roughly half a day. And guess what? In this time of year, typically you're walking through snow and you're lifting your legs up high, you're pouring those buckets, and you're not even done yet because you don't even have to know how to make syrup. All you have to do is know how to split wood and carry it. That's what really syrup is. And BSing the entire time. So all of these activities give you something that we wish for every day. Time. It gives you that moment. Why would you want to shorten that moment from processing rice, drying corn, making maple syrup? It gives you something that you don't get on your daily basis. That time is filled with stories, language, kinship, fundamental principles of your way of life. And you may not even agree with that, but it gives you dialogue. It makes you human, is what it does. To create this lifestyle in this day and age isn't as simple as just, all right, I'm just gonna go natural, I'll be fine. We can't. We're too busy. We're too busy getting our kids late to school every single day. We're stressing out all the time. I didn't even have clothes to wear. Dan gave me this shirt like a month ago, and it's been in the clean pile, so I'm just threw this on real quick. Thanks, Dan. He just like whipped it at me. Thanks. But, so in order to do this, it's a matter of priority. And one of my Ho-Chunk mothers, one of my mom's sisters, said to me something very important. She said, you're trying to fit this into your daily life. But I can assure you that once you live this way of life, you're going to try to fit everything around it. And she was absolutely right. It was extremely provocative. It changed my life. As a matter of fact, I began in 2008 on my road to health, because I started at 376 pounds and moved over to mainly a traditional diet as much as I could. Now I can't help but this day and age to pretty much unwrap most of my meals. So we're on the fly, we get that. But in order to do what we do, to be able to back this up with a lifestyle, and it's not even doing it for any other reason other than it's now your life. It is your woshka. It is your way of life every single day. And for some reason, something shined down and made sense to me. That connection. We all have identity issues. If you are Indigenous, you are rocking a pretty hefty identity issue. And always trying to find a way to be accepted in your way of life, whether it's through the language, going to cultural things, being an academic and studying historical things, data, research, everything. And what food and activity has done for me is allowed a connection. It brought me into the nation. I'm essentially an outsider, but I'm not, because obviously they threw me up here and had me drive this nation around again for another few years. So, but I say that because at some point we have to resign to the fact that research in Indian country has to take place. We have to find ways to measure progress, because we can't simply go out there with a speech and emotionally tell people how well and how the utility of the funding that they provided really is. So we use the simple model of where we were, where we are, to project where we're going. A lot of times people don't see that. It's hard to see because we want to see the BMI rates go down, or we want to see the life expectancy go up. And we may not have that data. For those of you who do research, broad research in Indian country, be ready to look at a dash where native statistics are, or an NA, a not applicable, or the inability to trend analysis for Indigenous students in a rural school. So the challenge is for the researchers to create that working model and to translate data into a story. And not only that, for people that have been desensitized by approaches to gather information, for Indigenous tribes who have put in a lot of policies to protect their information, such as enrollment data, health data, income data, you know, the steps it takes for all the institutional review boards, right? So they have done a lot to shore up a lot of that. So this is a very challenging field, but essential. A lot of times people don't see the fruits of their charity, their philanthropy, because they want to see that data. They want to be able to post that chart on their main page. But a lot of times we overlook the regressive analysis. And that is simply, what would it be like if you weren't there helping us? If you weren't a partner to us? Because I can tell you right now, in 1972, the unemployment rate was over 80%. The life expectancy was under 50 for American Indian males in our communities. Our obesity rate was well into the 70+%. Our addiction to nicotine and alcohol was as well that high. We had a lot of issues that needed to be addressed. And a lot of times people don't take a look at where we are, where we've become the largest employer in any counties that we are at, that our tribe is actually flourishing. We struggle a lot in different areas such as, health indexes, because we are dealing with Western cultures. These are all manageable and measurable items that we have that, eventually the minions of research are going to go out and create that data for. It is a field that I feel has a lot of untouched territory, untouched turf. You approach with caution. You remember who you're working for, that this is not just a sample crowd or a demographic that is going to be open to having this. But I can tell you right now, the data that has been collected has shown their positive impacts to Indian country overall, from the urban to the most rural tribes out in the Americas. So these are the people that I think about every day, and I will, as the president of our communities, I will stand in front and protect our communities to every length. until we can be assured that the benefit of having the research done is going to truly work out to our advantage. And so what I'm basically saying is no white heroes, please. We're doing pretty well on our own. And that's really what sovereignty is really all about. And so I'm looking forward to seeing you guys out in your comfort zones, in your fields of study, approaching with respect to our communities, and also, helping us create that vision, because we are not a siloed tribe. We coexist. Nearly all of our homes have Ho-Chunk and non-Ho-Chunk people in there. We have to take a look at where we're at. At the same time, we can't forget where we're from, which is where we are chronologically, culturally, linguistically, socially, politically. We are a part of that. So it is an honor to have you in our own home area of Dejop, joining us here today. I know land acknowledgements kind of have this roller coaster effect for folks, but we also don't have to prove we were here. I mean, I took a bunch of white scientists digging up our remains to say, oh yeah, they were here. No, the validity of oral culture in our communities is valid. And as a matter of fact, people who went into the hard sciences to refute our oral culture did more to substantiate it. So this is the culmination and the convergence of science and culture coming together. This is exactly what traditional ecological knowledge is. Hirajiwi, hinagiwi, jeske jagu nigi shanaji, huechjihti, warakiju, eske wayanapji wahaje. Thank you.
And take a second just to, let that sink in and just think about that. This would be a pretty good transition that we've got our drum here, our drums, and gonna have a nice opening song.
Hello, my name is Gillaspy Baker, and we're Twin Tail Singers.